It's Susan Short with Family Beautiful Magazine and FBTV. And have we got a special guest for you today? All the way from San Diego, we've got William Shockley. He is here talking to us about the Sarasota Film Festival that starts next week, and also his latest film, Long Shadows, a Western. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, thanks for having me, Susan. My pleasure.
So really interested in the Western genre. I was out in Bozeman last summer and I did Yellowstone and Bozeman. I had skied there a few years ago. Bozeman is just really popping. So I think after Yellowstone, and I mean, Western genre has always been in style, but why a Western? Why now? Why Long Shadows?
You know, that's a great question. Taylor Sheridan has certainly opened up the world to the to America with all of his incredible series that he's written and produced. But Long Shadows was just something, the script came my way from Granger Hines, who ended up producing and starring as Wesley Tibbs in the film. The other co-writer, Shelley Reed, had written the original draft, and Granger called me and says, "Hey," and we did a film like 13 years ago called Hot Bath Stiff Drink as actors together. He's a brilliant actor. So when Granger calls, I pick up the phone and I listen. He said, "I just read this script. You need to read it." I was like, "Okay." And he goes, "And I think you should direct it." I was like, "Wow. Okay." So I hung up. He sent me the script. I called him back 90 minutes later. And I said, "This is incredible." So we developed the script over about 18 months. And then my partners, Tom Brady and Alan Gilmer from Tikitani, got involved on the development with great notes. And so it just came to fruition. And one day my partner, Alan, said, "Let's make this." So we went to Tucson. We scouted old Tucson studios where I'd shot many times um, for various films, music videos. So we weren't really trying to catch the wave. We were just trying to catch a great project. And then lo and behold, it lands in 2025 coming out where there's so much interest in the Western genre, the Western adjacent genre via Taylor Sheridan and all his TV series. So it was fortune, just good fortune, tapped us on the shoulder by doing what we did.
Been around for so long. So why this Western? I know it's got some tragedy at the beginning and it's a coming of age story when there's a lot of technical revolution in the 1880s, even though
Yeah,
that seems like, 200 years ago.
that's which it is. Yeah, why this Western? There's a twist, and I won't tell it to you or your audience. There's a twist in this movie that was in the original script that I was just like, this is this is unique. I've never seen this twist before in a Western. I challenge anybody to predict it. Everybody that's seen the movie is like, oh my gosh. So really it's a beautiful story. It's about tragic loss. It's about redemption. It's about a second chance at life and love. And the haunting twist is what set me over the edge. I was just like, this is so unique, mixed in with a beautiful romantic Western love story. Um, I just felt compelled to do it because of its uniqueness and the special qualities. I think that, I was on a show called Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman for years with Jane Seymour. And that audience has an appetite for a certain type of storytelling. And that audience is still here. I mean, that generation from 30 years ago and their kids and their grandkids still watch it. And I hear from these people. So Long Shadows has an element of that type of storytelling. You can watch it with your mom and dad. You can watch it with your grandchildren. You can watch it with your children. So it's a generational film, really designed for the heartland of America.
Well, that's brilliant. So I understand the design and the costume design was Paula Rogers.
That's
So
right.
is she somebody that you've worked with before? Did you design the costumes specifically for, the vibe of the film? I'm interested in that. How did you create that vision?
Yeah, Paula Rogers is a dear friend of mine. I'd worked with her many times on other films, and this was the first one that I was the director. So, and Paula is brilliant in the Western space. She owns a costume company. She's an expert in the Western period costuming. So all of Jacqueline Bissette's costumes were handmade for Jacqueline.
Or
Everybody else, yeah, brilliant. And Jacqueline was just like, oh my gosh, Jacqueline was over the moon. But
Uh-huh.
I said to Paul, I said, look, this is not a dirt Western. I want this. My inspiration was Jane Eyre, the Michael Fassbender
I
period piece.
bet.
Ours
Yeah.
is a period piece. It's the 1880s. So I wanted a very romantic, elegant, layered, textured, colorful, um, gorgeous, sumptuous clothing for all the characters, you
Yeah.
know. So Paula knows me very well. She's dressed me as an actor, and she's like, I got it. And she was brilliant. She deserves so much credit for this film. Her costumes are a lead character in the movie, for sure.
It's great. Which is great. And a lot of people don't think about that, but when you think about doing the period pieces, that's a very important element
Yeah,
to
it
the
is.
story.
It's
Yes.
critical, and everything needs to be correct.
Right.
A certain hat on a certain day, and Paula knows
Right.
it all. So I was in great hands. Yeah.
Absolutely. So why Tucson? Why not, Montana? Why not Utah? Why not Mexico?
Yeah. Well, I've worked in Tucson a lot over the last 15 years. So I knew the crew. Tucson has an incredible crew base. And if you go to old Tucson studios where I've shot before, it's iconic. Hundreds of the most classic Westerns were filmed there over the decades. And all the sets were there, the exteriors were there, they had practical interiors. So I knew the lay of the land, and I knew areas outside of Old Tucson Studios, like a place called Gates Pass, which is this epic view into the valley of the Tucson area, but nothing but just saguaro cactus and rolling hills and mountains. So I knew that I could capture the beauty of what I had in my head at Old Tucson. So it was a friendly environment, and our production designer Daniel King did a brilliant job bringing those sets to life for me.
Well, tell me about the music. I understand you're also a musician
Yes.
and you're a songwriter, and you've had some very interesting success with that as well. Tell us
Yeah.
about the music
Yeah.
for the film. Is there going to be some original music?
Yes. Yes. The composer is a dear friend of mine named Tommy Fields. He's a brilliant musician, brilliant composer, brilliant singer. So he was my only choice. So when the film was roughly edited, he came down to my house. We watched it. I stopped and started, and he took copious notes. This scene feels like this. And the inspiration for him was really classical music. I originally envisioned a pure classical music score. But then as we got into it, we're like, that's a little bit heady. So, but the score is classic music influence. It's all original. It's a big, robust orchestral score. And once again, I wanted the music as a character in the movie. So I wanted that character to be rich and elegant and layered and textured and compelling and beautiful. And Tommy masterfully brought it to life. He spent several months on the score, which is unique for an indie, but you know. And Tommy and I have done a lot of work together. We've written a bunch of songs together as Shockley and Fields. We've done a soundtrack for feature films before. We've licensed songs. So it was a great symbiotic relationship going into it. We can read each other's minds. So
Question, did you have an orchestra record the music or did you use session musicians or who recorded the music?
no, Tommy did everything. When I
Okay.
say orchestral, in today's modern world, you can have violins and full brass, and you can bring the orchestral sound to life. Sometimes he might have brought in a player just to add a human feel on a certain moment, so the audience feels that imperfection. But no, overall, it was all Tommy.
Nice. Nice. I work a little bit with Steve Bartek, who works, he does all the Marvel movies with our Oingo Boingo friend.
Yes, our beautiful Oingo Boingo friend.
All those guys. Absolutely. So are you going to be here for the Sarasota Film Festival for the opening? Is anybody from the film going to be here next week?
Sadly, I have a world premiere the day before Sarasota at the Tucson, Arizona International Film Festival. And it's like to get from Tucson to Sarasota is like 10 and a half hours pedal jumping across America. So I just couldn't physically do it. I'm crushed. I'm hoping to get we have some actors that live on the East Coast, so I'm hoping to get some actors to your festival. But I apologize. I'm just my hands were tied in advance for this other festival, and what can you do? You know?
But the film is on April 7th at Cinebistro.
Yes.
So that's not it's not the open you don't need to be at the festival the opening night. I think your film is showing it's a Monday. So I think it's a week from Monday.
Yeah. Yeah. We have the Arizona Festival on Sunday the 6th. And
Oh,
yeah, that's just like if you guys were driving distance or an easy pop, I could
yeah.
do it. It was just logistically, you know,
Far.
challenge.
You can get to Tucson, you can get to Europe, in a shorter amount of time
I know. I
than
was
to
like,
Tucson.
I thought the same thing. I was like, I could be in Milano, you know?
Easy, easy. Like it's a direct flight, or you can go to, I mean, you honestly, it's hard to get to Tucson. I've looked into it because I've been all over the West and I've wanted to go to Tucson. I've been to Phoenix and Scottsdale and Sedona, etc. But Tucson
Yeah.
is really hard to get to. There's long layovers.
It's a pain,
Strange.
to be
Yeah,
real honest.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So you have so you work with Tiki. Tell me about Tikitani. You
Yes,
have another film that I think it just was released last week, The Assessment. You were the
that's right.
EP on it, is that correct?
That's right. Tikitane is my production company with Alan Gilmer, Tom Brady, Ricky Rushing, and T.U. Loigu. Um, we're a tribe of filmmakers. And yes,
I've I've studied your website. That's how I got
yeah,
all this info.
yeah, you got
Do my
it.
little due diligence.
You did great. You did
Thank
great.
you.
Last week, yes, the assessment came out on Friday, the 21st, nationwide. Alicia Vikander, Lizzie Olsen, Himesh Patel, a beautiful futuristic movie directed by Flora Fortuné, and super compelling. It's really about the future of state government controlling everything we do as humans. You can take a pill, you can live to be 200 and feel and look good doing it, but in exchange, you cannot have a family, you cannot do anything without the permission. So it's a dystopian tale about do you live in this fake world or do you choose to go back to the old world and experience freedom and choices,
Interesting.
independence. So it's a really beautiful story, and
Sounds
you have
great.
you have a brilliant cast. So we're very excited. The movie's done really well for us. So I'm excited for.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah,
So what's next on the pipe for you? So we've got Long Shadows. That's second quarter release. Is that correct?
yeah. We're targeting September. Let
Okay.
the summertime madness kind of settle into the dust, and then we'll come out and yeah, that's it'll be a beautiful theatrical release in September. And then we have many projects in development. Um, I don't know if I should talk about them or not until they're greenlit, but we have some
Little
great projects.
idea, a little taste.
Gosh, well, we're in love with a project called Belly of the Beast with Colin Farrell and Ben Stiller that we're going to be involved in as executive producer and directed by Andrew Hay. And there's a
He's
project called
great.
He's
Yeah.
brilliant, such a
Brilliant.
masterful painter director. I love him.
Yeah. I love him.
Yeah, me too. And we have a horror film that we're going to be doing called The Punishing. The lead producer, Tom Brady, and I will produce with him. Steven Schneider, one of the geniuses in the horror genre, space producer. His resume is brilliant. Andrew Corkin will produce. Chris Sparling wrote and directed, and so that'll be in the fall at some point. And then my
We
next
should talk
project.
to you about that because that the makeup, I love to hear about like the horror makeup and just what goes
Yeah,
behind that. It's so interesting.
yeah. That one's a bit more supernatural.
Ah,
The next film I'm directing is called Who, WHOO, and it's a horror. So there will be makeup involved with that. It's a horror crime thriller set in Arizona. So
interesting. In
it's a
Tucson?
yes. Going back to Tucson, Tucson has abandoned missile silos that the United States government built back in the day, and they're still in existence and they're privately owned. And it's as if time stopped. So you go down 60 feet and you're inside a missile silo that, you know, oh my gosh, the production design is outrageous, if you can only
Yeah.
imagine. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's
How do you
that'll
get down into those missile silos? Is it like a ladder? Is it an elevator? Does
well,
the elevator work?
no, it's not an elevator. There's stairs or there's
Stairs.
industrial lifts where you hit a lever and drop down
Okay.
60 feet. So
Yeah.
that'll be sometime this fall. We're just kind of balancing out our schedules.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, sounds wonderful. It sounds like you got so many exciting projects. I really appreciate the fact that you talked to us. Congratulations on Long Shadows.
Thank you.
And stay on. I'm going to just stop recording. This is Susan Short, FBTV, talking with William Shockley and his fantastic films that are coming out and his terrific career.